It is overtime here again at Old Favorite Friday. I am Kevin Abbott, Director of Operations and one of the partners here at Barrel of Monks Brewing, and we are talking about Brooklyn Brown Ale here for this Old Favorite Friday. And this is a beer that just is so close to my heart. It has such nostalgia for me in the craft beer industry because Brooklyn's been around forever. Back in the day when there were very few craft breweries, beers available in South Florida, Brooklyn was here with a mess of great beers, incredible ones, some that we've had a chance to feature here on Old Favorite Friday. But Brooklyn Brown Ale, I hadn't seen it in a long time. Come to find out, they had taken it out of rotation. It was not a year-round beer anymore, and I don't know how long it was out of the market or if it was always, they immediately brought it to a seasonal, but checking the Brooklyn website, this is a seasonal beer now, and this beer used to be year-round for me. This was always one of my go-tos. My first job in the craft beer industry was being a bartender at a craft beer bar, and we get, I shift beer every night, and this was almost always one of my go-tos. I love this beer so much. I love brown ales. I love red ales. We feature so many of them, and I'm always just mesmerized by the fact that these beers are not more prevalent, because back in the day, browns, IPAs, wheat beers, they were kind of all in the mix as being staple beers that every brewery has, and they just kept kind of falling by the wayside. I know that our red ales, brown ales, things like that tend not to do as well in the market, which I think is a shame because they're so versatile, they're so flavorful, and they're so classic. And Brooklyn Brown Ale is that to me. This beer is a little more of an American brown, and I say that because it has a little more hop profile. Not in the way that it's bitter, but it has a little bit of hop bitterness. It's a tad bit. A little bit of noble hop character to it. I say that about being more of American style brown ale because the English style brown ale tends to be a little bit sweeter, a little more chewy. This has a lot of the flavor profile there. It's got caramel, it's got a little toffee, it's got a little coffee roast in there. It's got a classic brown ale profile, but it adds in a little bit of hop profile as well, which is really, really nice. It balances it out really well, makes it really, really drinkable. And it's so well done. It's crafted in such an expert way, and it makes me just sad that this is not a beer that I can just get on a regular basis. This beer and this brewery in general, Brooklyn, continues just to do incredible things, always on point, always making their beers to style and doing such a great job. I had an opportunity to visit the Brooklyn brewery many years ago. My brother and sister-in-law were living not too far from there, and they met someone from the Brooklyn brewery, gave us a little tour, gave us all the free beer we wanted. Couldn't have been kinder. So I have a lot of good things to say about Brooklyn brewery, and I wish we had more of their older beers, things like Soriachi Ace, which I don't believe they make anymore, and so many beers that we just don't have a chance to get anymore, which is such a shame. This beer, we'd like to talk about food pairings and things of that nature. The classic food pairings for a brown ale, you talk about like a sausage on a roll with peppers and onions, or a mustard. Very classic. That's highly recommended. Chili is another thing that you could do really well with a brown ale. But as I was sipping this a little bit earlier and just kind of getting my thoughts together for this, I was thinking, I wonder how this would taste with chicken marsala. I just think that a little bit of the sweetness, the body, I think it would work really well, especially if you paired it with like some rosemary potatoes, something like that. I think this would go really well. So this is something I'm gonna have to try. I'm gonna have to go to my favorite local Italian restaurant, get a chicken marsala, and take a few of these bad boys home, and maybe I'll let you guys know how that worked out for you. But if any of you guys ever try any of the food pairings that we suggest and want to let us know, please do. We'd love to hear your comments and tell us if we knocked it out of the park, or we were morons and we had no idea what we were talking about, because there's a possibility for both of those things. I highly recommend you support Brooklyn Brewery. I highly recommend you go and buy brown ales, buy red ales, buy these styles of beers that are so classic, and give breweries like Brooklyn and like me a reason to make more of them, because if you love them like me, these malt forward beers, we could use a lot more of them out there in the market. Please continue to tell us what we should be drinking next week for Old Favorite Friday. We really appreciate that. Please, like, subscribe, look at all the other videos we do about classic, incredible beers, trying to give them the respect and the love that they so gratefully deserve. And we'll see you next week for Old Favorite Friday. Cheers.